if there's any issues regarding the quality of my microphone, well, I'm using a sort of temporary headset. And this is what I'm giving you awareness of before the Ero Belgian Grand Prix in PC F1 tier. The title fight between Irvin Curtin and Tony Ritchie is pretty close. It may have gone a little bit further with around 23 points of a gap, but it doesn't change the thing. It's still very close between the two drivers from the Red Bull. And today we're having a 10th episode of the title fight, the Ero Belgian Grand Prix. My name is Wojciech Śmigłowski. I am the owner and the lead commentator of Ero Pc F1 tier and Ero F1 in Season 9, which will have crossplay. And I'm the owner of this league as well. So, shortly to the facts. Well, I was having a big hurry up, considering considering the sponsor pack. So there will be a couple of errors, but you shouldn't mind that as well. Anyway, speaking of which, we're having a new driver today, and his name is no other than you'll see in the standings in the Mercedes, Georges Nader. He is the Haas esports development driver, but due to no Haases, he's going to race in Mercedes quite exceptionally today. We're having more and more drivers going on track in this 19-car grid. The McLaren that is empty is meant to be Diogo Moraes, but we'll see if he will join the session, as we've got new race, 10th round of the season, the championship fight being pretty close, and we've also got first cars on track. And we've got an error! There you go! Iron Bilbas has decided to become Tony Ritchie again. Otherwise, apart from that, there is no issues on the board, so it should be all good. But we're just going to have 2 Tony Ritchies today, and that is a minor but still a penalty. Well, that's how it is, it looks like. Anyway, speaking of this race, the Belgian Grand Prix, well, it will be a very interesting one, knowing this track has got plenty of races under wet weather conditions, especially considering PS F2 races that were wet for 4 times in a row. Looking at the drivers, meanwhile, who are on the lap, we also have to mention the other reserves, not only Georges Nader joining in the last minute to the garage, but also we've got Joe Fegali, who's racing in Aston Martin. Yeah, that was just out of the session, but I'm sure he's going to join back soon. The other reserves is, for example, Sami Nakle, who's racing in Alpine today, as usual. And anymore, of course, Craig Dempsey racing in Alfa Romeo. Meanwhile, we're having yellow flags in Sector 1, but that's not a major thing. We're looking for drivers who are already on the lap, and one of those is not Tony Ritchie, who's just getting out of the track, you could see. Continuing then. Another Tony Ritchie is Aljan Bilbas, so we can mind that on the meantime. Well, we've got 14 minutes to go in this qualifying. This is the first time we're having a this is not the first time, but these are the times when we have first laps in the qualifying being set. The first man on track to actually go for one is not Tom Maurer, who's already invalidated. We're having an Aston Martin, not of Joe Fegali, but Cameron Dowds, who is going on a lap. He's now approaching Sector 3. We're going through Stavlot. We'll approach Blanchimont soon. Cameron is most likely to set up a benchmark for today's session, as we are going full throttle through the entire section around here. Cameron will be the first one to set up a lap on the Aston Martin. He missed a race last week, but he's back to the action. Now for the bus stop chicane, he's about to cross the line. And we'll see what's the first time of the session is. It's 42.5, placing him on provisional pole, of course, because he's the first one to make a lap. We can also see a Ferrari being slow in the Blanche mode. This might be a danger for the McLaren. Luke Mills is setting up a lap, but Evan Curtin is just 3 milliseconds behind the Aston Martin driver. Then we've got the Haas of Fraser Robertson, 44.6. Then we might see big gaps around here in Belgium, as we've got the longest track in the entire calendar, which is 7 kilometers long. Sami Nakle puts up the fastest lap of the session. So, yeah. This track, longest in the calendar, has got... it's got 7 kilometers of length, near 20 corners, all of them being very quick and challenging. George Snyder now goes for pole position with 40 milliseconds of advantage. You can see the top 4 is separated by a single tenth, and we just started qualifying, so I wonder how it will be in the next laps. Stonich is about to cross the line as well. He's placing himself on 5th. I don't know what's the gap for it, but it's about 2/10 of a second. Yes, it is 183 milliseconds. So it's very close between the top 5. Marvin Moore is a bit at the back when it comes to the lap time, because it's half a second. We've got yellow flags in sector 3, but it's not a major thing. It's just Cameron racing, driving with no fuel. We also have to speak about the comeback of Jonathan Voss, who's in a Ferrari. After 6 weeks of absence, he's joined back Ero Racing due to simulator problems. He wasn't able to race. He's lost a lot in the championship. He might even lose a guaranteed seat at this point for the next Ero F1 season. But he's back, and he'll try to bounce back as much as possible. Alfie Harvey, calling himself Go Tiffy of the league, but he's doing a couple of points every couple of weekends. He's got a couple of those. Valuable for the Williams in this massive, massive fight for the second place in the Constructors. And I can tell you this. The gap between the second team, which I believe is a McLaren, and I'm just having a look on the standings, so I'm just going to confirm that. Alfie Harvey goes 12 on the meantime. So we'll see Kul Pawlakovic or Drake Dempsey. Both are just on their outlap, same as Wojciech Rox and Tom Maurer. But the grid is already very close. Okay, in the Constructors, second is McLaren with 100 points. But one point behind them is Ferrari with 99 points. Then we've got Mercedes with 97, AlphaTauri with 92, and Williams with 89. So I might say that Red Bulls might get a Constructors' Championship next week. It's possible, I've just checked it. But for the second place, it's going to be very tight. Also, don't forget Alfa Romeo, who are just having a bit of a handicap because of Drake. Aston Martin with Cameron Dowds now racing regularly. Alpines with Nakle and Moore for today. It's like only the Haas are going to be 10th at the moment. As Kul Pawlakovic is starting a lap, Drake Dempsey is somewhere in the sector 2. In the Puon corner, a Ferrari is causing yellow flag or a Red Bull. And I believe that's a Red Bull. No, but Evan is on the lap. That's the Williams of Harvey, who's just letting past the other drivers. We've got 10 minutes to go in this qualifying, and we've already got a very close first run of it. Well, Nader, Nakle, Dowds, Curtin, Ricci. This is very close. We might also get a couple more drivers, but speaking of which, it's a Lebanese front row lockout at the moment. And don't cross out Marvin from the contention. I'm just making sure everything's working on the stream. And it should, as far as I'm aware. As we've got someone called Jack West joining. If he joins, yeah, he's left the session, thankfully for us. He understood that this is a proper league race, and we're using friends only system because we don't want to have any issues regarding joining the session. Also, in the meantime, when there was a very unsafe release from an Alpine, we can mention about yesterday's record of people on the stream. it was 56 consecutive viewers at the same time, which is quite a lot. Quite literally, I'm speaking that. So if you can get your friends in and try to outscore this, that would be very cool, and I'd be grateful for that. Also, there's a poll on the chat that where you can vote for a winner. Unfortunately, I did not put Nader or Drake or anyone else, just to not make any spoilers. Just brought top 3 of the championship. I myself, remaining impartial thought, I'm voting for not Tony, not Evan, but I'm surprisingly going to vote for someone else. And, well, you can wonder who I might think about, as Evan Curtin has invalidated his lap before that happened. George Snyder is on the outlap. Sami Nakla is already pushing through the no-name straight. You might remember, you might need to know that this very mild right-hander is actually the camel, and the straight has no name, which might be quite surprising for you, but it's really a thing. Cameron Dowds invalidated, Evan Curtin invalidated, Tony Richard just starting, Marvin Moore is about to end his lap. No, he's not, because he's having full ERS, but Luke Mills is closer to reaching the line. Look for more drivers who are about to cross it. Arjan Bilbas on the lap, Quill Pavlakovic has got no ERS, but he's still going for it on the 9th place at the moment, the Williams driver. And he's going to the pits right now. Continuing, Drake with no lap. Tom Mauer being stopped on track, or actually going very slowly, 2 kilometers per hour, come on. Just let everyone pass. For example, his teammate for today, George Snyder, who's currently on provisional pole. Yellow flags in sector 2, that's probably Tom or the Williams driver, Alfie Harvey, letting past. The others, Georges nearly spins round, but he keeps it on track. That was very close though. Sami Nakla goes for a provisional pole this time, beating George's lap by 75 milliseconds, which is still very close considering how long Spa-Francorchamps is. One of the most iconic tracks. Well, not to mention that on the 50s and 60s, like the years, it was 14 kilometers long. There was that straight, which is after Camel Corner, and then you were racing through the villages and next to houses, quite literally. This is a piece of history though. From modern ones, we can only remember a farce of 2021 and whether you can't call it race, or 2018 Carnage or 2012 Carnage. Well, this track has seen plenty of carnage. Jonathan Foss is about to start a lap. Cameron Dowds is on the out lap. George Snyder was slow on his second run rather than his first run, and he's having invalidated now. Looking at driver's car, close to crossing the line, and that is one of the Haas's most definitely. His name is Fraser Robertson, but he's got no ERS, and I believe he's still going. I don't think his lap is going to be improved though, so he'd rather go to the pits at this point. But we'll see. Yeah, he is going to the pits. We've got Drake on the lap, I believe, or Padraig it is. Yeah, Padraig is on the lap, but also without any kind of ERS. Now Fatari is racing the Ferrari in sector 3. That is not Jonathan Foss, that is Arjan Bilbas, probably being bled past by Luke Mills or Owen. No, Owen's in the pit, so that is Luke Mills. Arjan's about to cross the line, setting up a new lap time of 42.8, placing him just behind Tony Ritchie on the 6th place. What's the gap? It's around less than 0.2 of a second. As we are looking for more drivers who are going for a lap, George Snyder will go to the pits, but Cameron Dowds is not about to end this lap. He's abandoning it for whatever reason. He was on the out lap, as far as I'm aware, but that's kind of surprising for me. Jonathan Foss is about to cross the line. He's on the Blanchimon. We've got less than 4 minutes to go in this qualifying, so all the drivers have to hurry up and put up the proper tires, especially considering that the out lap lasting around 2 minutes on this track. As Johan Voss spins round on the final run. I don't know what the delta is, but he could have gone for a way better lap time. And I believe this might be qualifying over for him, unless he's got enough fuel to go for another run. But these softs are going to be a little bit more worn now, as Arjen Bilbas goes to the pits, and this will be probably the end of the session for him. The Aston Martin behind him, not Cameron. Joe Fegali is also on the outlap. We've got most of the drivers on the outlaps. We're looking for anyone who's pushing. That might be Wojciech Kroks, who's 80 milliseconds down. And into sector 2. Wojciech Kroks is having a purple sector, but I don't believe that's a purple sector. He's about to cross the line now. He's going to the bus stop chicane. Probably the slowest point of the track. He's about to cross the line now, and he's having a 43.1, placing him on 9th place. We've got 2 minutes to go in this qualifying, and it looks like Diogo Moraes. Well, we're in touch. That's all I can say. Might be joining the session anytime now. We've got Cameron going to the pits, and will definitely not go higher than 3rd. Sami Nakle is about to cross the line now to start his lap. Just to make sure. George Snyder also on the outlap. How about Evan? He's on the outlap with with Tony. Marvin Moore is starting as well. We could also see Alpha Tauri going for a first run. Yeah. Luke Mills is starting his lap. There might be a chance of doing a re-lobby, a lobby restart, just to make sure Diogo Moraes will race today. And also a chance for Ryan Bilbas to correct his number and get his penalty points removed. We're looking at all the drivers who are on the laps, and definitely it's George Snyder, but we also have a second Mercedes of Tom Mauer, who's on the outlap. Luke Mills is on sector 2, but the one who's about to finish is Owen. I don't also know what's the weather for today's race, but considering these lap times, it might be dry. As Owen starts his lap, looking for all the drivers. Quil Pavlakovic in the bus stop chicane, just about starting. There might be not enough time for a couple of drivers to make the laps complete. To start the lap even. As Nakle, he's probably not improved his lap, even though he crossed the line. George Snyder is 84 milliseconds down on his lap, and he's having probably not enough fuel to even complete it. Curtin is around a 10th up on his lap. These are the deciding runs of the qualifying. Red Bull drivers were pretty much 1-2 every single race at the beginning of the season, but considering Drake, considering Cameron, considering Sami, or today George's, they might be fighting for the championship with being on the 6th and 7th. As well. As Drake Dempsey goes for pole position, it's a 42.1. That's a big gap. George Stader now outscores Sami Nakle. And is on the 2nd place. Evan Curtin stays 4th. Sami Nakle. It's the end of the lap for him. We've got more and more laps being completed. I know this just might be a glitch from F1 TV. We've got also an AI of... No, it's not an AI, it's completely legit Owen. Letting past Quill Pavlakovic, probably doing a little bit of a slipstream. As Quill is about to complete a lap as well, he goes 13th fastest. We know about his recovery drives though. So this is the end of the qualifying now. As we've got, surprisingly, I completely missed that bit, but Tom Maurer has gone second on his final lap of qualifying. As Diogo Moraes will unfortunately not race today. As well, Bilbas is on no tires though, quite funny, but considering qualifying results, it's Drake Dempsey on pole position, ahead of Tom Maurer, George Snyder, so the Mercedes will try to attack the Alfa Romeo driver, then Sami Nakle, Evan Curtin, Cameron Dowds, Tony Ritchie, Marvin Moore, Arjen Bilbas, Jonathan Voss, that's the top 10. Outside of it, we've got Wojciech Kroks, Luke Mills, Quill Pavlakovic, Antonio Oginski, Fraser Robertson, Owen Heinen, Patrick Odugail, Alfie Harvey, and Joe Fegali. Diogo Moraes, we can just say happy birthday to Season 7 champion. And we hope he's enjoying it. Now let's go to the race director, which you have to click twice to make it work. But let's look at the tire strategies. We've got more and more drivers going into hard tires. We've got the entire top 4 going into hards now. And we've got also Tony Ritchie, who's just 7th in this qualifying. Drake Dempsey also the pole position point. As we've got Arjen Bilbas attacking on soft tires, fully going for it. But most of the drivers will be on hards. No, Arjen Bilbas actually goes hards as well. So we've got little amount of medium runners. These are Jonathan, Luke, Antonio, Fraser, and Joe Fegali. We've got 10 seconds to go to pick the strategies. Jonathan Voss is on the mediums. Still, I've seen a change of hards. We've got only two medium runners now. And we're about to start the Belgian Grand Prix in Ero Pc F1. And we'll see who's having a best launch up from the line. It's 5 lights, it's lights out and away we go, and it looks like Drake Dempsey is having a good start on George against Mader and Maurer. He's going to cover up both lines, not allowing Mercedes to do anything. We'll see George Snyder, Tom Maurer and Sami Nakla going wheel to wheel. Then we've got Cameron Dowds very close to a Red Bull of Tony Ritchie. He's going ahead of Tony. We can see no accidents at the moment. Everyone's going clean through Eau Rouge. Drake Dempsey is on the lead of the race. Looks like George Snyder is going to get away from Tom Maurer as well, because his priority is to win today. And today in Belgian Grand Prix, Drake Dempsey on the lead of the race. Stays still, but he's got George's behind. And looks like these two will escape from the rest of the grid. We've got the first spinner, and these are Owen Heinen and Fraser Robertson, but it's the back of the grid. We've got Sami Nakla fighting Tom Maurer into the no-name corner, that is. There might have been a warning being applied to Sami, but this might be removed as well. Evan Curtin is looking for a move on the Alpine. Well, it looks like, well, look at the gap between the first and the second Mercedes. Tom Maurer definitely doing good work for Georges, but he goes wide. He's going off track and will lose a couple of places now. Losing it also to Cameron. He might also lose to Marvin, and he's now going to be just on the 7th place, just ahead of Tony Ritchie. He comes back on track, but this time it's Sami Nakle who's having a clear space. And it looks like he's not going to try to defend for anyone. He's just going for it. He is going to close the gap. between him and the top two drivers, George Snyder and Drake Dempsey. These two are very close to each other, and we'll see starting lap 2 of the track with the least amount of laps in the entire calendar. On the full distance, it's just 44. We're having 50% races, so this is 22 laps of the Belgian Grand Prix. George Snyder versus Drake. This is still on. Perhaps the Haas team would prefer to see him in Haas, but unfortunately, this is all information to them. Both full-time drivers of Haas in Ero Pc F1 RN, so it was impossible to give it to him. Maybe in Season 9 though, as George Taylor is going closer and closer to Drake. I don't think he's going to make a move this lap. That's going to be definitely very close. You can see the gap is maybe around a second. Yes, it is 7 tenths, 8 tenths. Remember about the delta not being too consistent. But this is out of our control at the moment. Georges looks like he's losing a bit of touch to Drake in this section of corners. As we've got a gap of around 8 tenths, 9 tenths, I believe. Sami Nakler, well, also the no assist driver. Same as Marvin. I was always convinced that both Alpines for today are line users. I'll be completely honest with you. As George Snyder is about to make a move on Drake, no, but he's having plenty of ERS. Is he actually having minus 40 degrees tires? Am I wrong? Yeah, it is around minus 40 degrees, but I think that's just a visual problem, not a visual bug. Drake goes wide into the entry of bus stop. As he's also setting up the fastest lap of the race. Sami Nakler is now improving his lap. So he might be also in the RS. George Snyder is now using all of his ERS before the Iorush corner. And he's going to have the RS on Drake. Very smoothly through Iorush. Is he going for a move into the straight, into Lecombe? Not quite. As Sami Nakler, we'll see if he has DRS. I don't believe he had. So he might be just settling for third now, unless there's some strategy mix-ups. As there's an Aston Martin fighting Foss of Joe Fegali Aston Martin. Fighting Foss, and Foss is making an easy move for the 16th. Probably not the greatest start that he had. We can also see a gap forming between top 6 and the rest of the field. Cameron Downs with already a 3-second time penalty. And you can see how big the gap is between Richey and Bilbas. We're just going with the top 6 drivers. Jonathan Foss, I believe he's going to catch up to the rest of the field now. Oginski going ninth, that's something to note. As Drake Dempsey is having 95% of ERS. Dugal is out of the race, and that means we could have a safety car. He's crashed out of Stavelot on the exit, but it doesn't look like. We have no yellow, no full course yellow at any kind. After his crash, he's just retired from the session, and that's about it. That's the whole story. As we are entering lap 4 of today's Grand Prix. Crocs has made a move on Oginski meanwhile for the 8th, and he also might lose a place to Tom Maurer. Oginski now has to settle for 10th, and he's lost. He tried attacking a place, and he's dropped 2 places. And in the space of a singular corner, Drake Dempsey will stay on the 1st place ahead of George Snyder. This fight is still very close, but Georges prefers to follow the DRS of Drake rather than making a move, even though we would love to see one. We need some action, not just another DRS train we know all from other racing leagues. Everyone is just settling for the current places, as Oginski is very close to Wojciech Crocs. Tomer has gone ahead of 2 drivers now, of both Polish drivers, and let's see if Oginski can go for something and the next section of corners. but it doesn't look like, even though we know Ogiński being kind of a driver who likes making moves into any kind of corners. We know he would love to go for a gap. We'll see if he's using ERS. He's using ERS though. How about Crocs? He's not using. He's barely having any ERS. So we might see a move between. So we might see a fight between Haas and McLaren into the bus stop chicane. As Ogiński is going for a move around the outside of Crocs, but that will not work out just yet. Still a good try. As Wojciech Crocs is already having no ERS. George Snyder, I have seen him being very close to Drake Dempsey into Jarosz Radion, but it's not a thing anymore. You can also see Bilbas is losing like 3 seconds to the rest of the field. George is using DRS, but he's just using it to be less than a second behind Drake. Sami Nagle has no DRS. This makes a chance for Evan Kurten to make a move for the 3rd place, as he's done it. Ogiński is now also ahead of Crocs, but he's gone a little bit wide, so he might invite Crocs to fight back. Not quite, but Crocs might think of a move into Brussels, into the hairpin. We also have seen Tom Maurer trying to defend from Arjan Bilbas. Nader and Dempsey have both gone out of the rest of the field. Evan Kurten, even though it majorly helps his championship fight with Tony Ritchie, well, he's now the one losing more than a second and having no DRS, so he might use some of that ERS to catch up. As George Snyder, still right behind Drake. Come on, use that ERS. He is using ERS. He's probably heard us, but just for a little bit. He's just keeping himself to be in the DRS of Drake. We can also see a big gap being formed between the top 6 and the rest of the field. Penn and Fegali Robertson are just fighting between each other. Foss is trying to catch up on Alfie Harvey. As he's now and the DRS of the Williams. We'll see if the Williams driver also has DRS. He does not, so we might see a move into on the longest straight of the track. Marvin Moore is already into the pits. As now Sami Nagle makes a move back on Evan Kurten, who's also got no ERS. That allows him to go into 3rd place and even lose a bit more time to the top 2, quite surprisingly. As Jonathan Foss, Alfie Harvey just backs out of it. He knows Jonathan is not his race. Jonathan's objective is to at least get a couple of points for Ferrari, which would be very valuable for the 2nd place in the Constructors. Alfa Romeo is now officially coming back to the Constructors Championship fight though. As using the time of no action, we need to close the poll. Most of you have voted for either Drake or Georges to win. As we'll also go back to the default display of the standings. The reason why I'm placing this custom one is Ero Season 9, which will be on crossplay, and that is confirmed. And we will see a couple of drivers from PlayStation. Examples: Guillaume Darun, Urias King, or Arena Lepenru are the most likely ones. And this will definitely come in handy. Very good test though, but for now it's fine if we use this. As George Snyder actually being closer to Drake than usual. He might be going for a move on the inside. He's decided to wait for one more straight, but I think if he's not doing a move now, there will be no more chance, at least before the pit stops, for him to complete it. He's going to be very close to Drake into the Jarosz Radion. Look how close he is. This is the time he's making a move, I believe. He's using ERS. He knows he's over 2 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Drake Dempsey is squeezing him into Lecombe, into the inside lane by Georges. Looks like he will take the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. And that is what we wanted to see. A proper fight between the top 2. Going away from the rest of the field. Cameron Dodds looks like he spun into Lecombe. Probably an incident with Tony Ritchie, which may be major for the championship fight between the Red Bulls. This is probably the first time in Ero history we're seeing a championship fight between teammates. Because we've usually seen that between drivers from other teams. For example, Luke Schultes and Jody in Season 2, or Drake Dempsey, Guilherme Darunia in Season 6, respectively it was Williams Alfa Romeo in Season 2 and Aston Martin with Mercedes in Season 6. Now we're having it between drivers from the same team. As Cameron does, look how much he backs up the rest of the field. He's trying to get back on track after the spin. I wonder if he has wing damage. This is also a fight will to will between Robertson and Fegali into Puon. We'll see about that, because this is quite an interesting one, to be honest. Now we're going to the next section of corners. Joe is still side by side with Fraser, and it looks like Fraser has done the move. So now we'll see if Drake Dempsey will use a bit of his ERS. He's got 15% more ERS comparing to George's. Now he's using loads of it. Same applies to George's. So I believe Drake is now going to close the gap and then maybe make a move on the next lap. He's about to have DRS now. The gap between him and Knuckle is still like 2.6 seconds. So he doesn't have to worry about drivers behind him. He's regaining around a 10 through this 2/10 through the straight, which might be not enough to complete the move. Irvin Curtin is not also having DRS. Same applies for Tony. Cameron Dowds looks like he's back on track. He still has that penalty, which may drop him all the way down to P10 at this very moment. Also, Bilbas with Oginski fighting. They've not got the best relations after Oginski's major error in round 2 of Miami. Oginski looked for a move, but that was just a half look onto the inside of the Ferrari. Also, that's helping Oginski because Arian might be just losing time now if he keeps looking for these moves. Drake Dempsey might be out of DRS very soon though, so he needs to use as much as as he possibly can to stay in DRS. He's got 60%. George has got like 35, so this is what Drake needs. He needs ERS. He needs the overtake mode to get closer, but Georges is also using it. There's yellow flags in Sector 2. That's Alfie Harvey spinning ground and Puon. And Drake looks like he's just about to stay in DRS. Alfie Harvey is now going to be passed also by Marvin Moore. I wonder what tires Marvin Moore is in. And these are 2 laps old mediums. He's the first one to go for a pit stop, so I believe he might have got also wing damage. George Snyder has gone for a fastest lap. And it looks like he's out of DRS of Drake. So Drake might be going for an undercut or an overcut, dependent on the tires and the temperature. Because remember that from now on, the tire temperature is 70 degrees when you come out of the pits. Not the optimal one. Drake is just about having DRS. He might be getting closer and closer to Georges. The gap is 3/10 now, so he closed the gap even though he's got a big moment. He's gone off track. He's got the 30-second time penalty for corner cutting. That was a massive corner cut. I know he's lost the car, but this might not be cancelled. This might be not removed because of how big this cut is. We remember himself doing the same at Monza on the last lap of Season 6 PS F1 race. But that was a bit of a different story. He's gone in slower. He's been overtaken by Darunia before the second chicane. But after that, that was just pure poetry of the fight between these two. Anyway. Drake is probably out of DRS now and might have just as well settled for second. He wants the DRS of Georges, so he is making sure that he will be at least on the second place. As now he's locking up a bit. Croc's fighting Oginski. Oginski's actually spun round. I don't know what happened there. It might have been a little bit of an incident between these two. As Cameron Dowds is in the pit lane already, and he's retiring from the session, so there might have been a wing damage or anything else after an incident with Richard, possibly. I mean, he still could have gone for points today, at least a couple of those. Now the only hope is Joe Fegali. as the yellow flags in Sector 1 are caused by the Aston Martin driver. Drake has actually caught back to Georgia. They both have no ERS now, so it all depends on who is going to have that better exit of the out of the first corner. Odegaard also left the session, but he was already DNF'd a couple of laps ago. As another yellow flag in 61. Yeah, that's Cameron retiring. You can already see quite major gaps being formed between, it's like top two, then we've got 5 seconds, then we've got Sami Nakla. Evan Cotton is trying to be in his DRS. Tony Ritchie is 1.6 seconds. And then we've got Tom Mauer just settling for 6. But for now, it's the Mercedes drivers that are winning the Constructors' race today. Because 25 plus 8 is more than 12 plus 10. I wonder if Evan is going for a move on Sami Nakla at any point. Because we're in this very calm part of the race where everyone has done their mistakes and we'll just travel to the line possibly, or maybe we'll see a fight because Evan Curtin is out of the ERS because he's got no ERS. I think. Sami Nakla for comparison has 25%. Wojciech Crox is actually close to Aaron Bilbas. Obteniki's been in the pits, possibly. Fegali is now causing yellow flag in Sector 3 for whatever reason. As Crox prefers to stay within Arian's DRS. Mauer gets a 3-second time penalty as well, but I don't think Arian or Wojciech will catch up to him. Even though we remember the case of Australia, for example. We don't want that. Also, did you realize there was no kind of virtual or full safety car in this race? Ogiński and Harvey are battling together for position number 15, and I believe, yeah, Ogiński was in the proper pits. Now he's about to fight his teammate Fraser Robertson. I think they may also go for a swap, considering the fact Ogiński is on new tires. We'll go back to the fight for position number 7, though. Krog's doing very good points for Poland, and McLaren as well, considering an absence of Moraes. Crox is now using a bit of his ERS. Arian Bilbas still having enough. He's actually like got 70%. So he might just burn it all when he goes to the pit. Evan Curtin is already going to the pit lane. As he will be going probably for medium tires. But I'm wondering about these clouds though. Might see a bit of chaos. Tom Mauer and Wojciech Crox are also in the pits. Alfie Harvey gets a 3-second time penalty. Pawlakovic also enters the pit lane. Evan Curtin goes for medium tires, and I think this will be a choice for most of the drivers. I don't think anyone is going to go on softs. As we'll see that one. Yeah, most likely. No! That was a spin from Evan Curtin. Another one, another stone to the garden, as we speak in Polish, for at least. I don't know how that sounds in English, but Evan Curtin has spun around. It's another error, which we'll mention if he loses the championship. That's for sure. Also, it's very cloudy around Spa-Francorchamps now, so I wonder if there'll be any rain. I haven't received any information from any of the drivers, so I believe this will be dry until the very end. But if we see some rain, this will be actually very interesting. George Snyder still leads the race ahead of Drake Dempsey by around a second. Drake's sometimes in DRS, sometimes outside of DRS, but yeah. They're just keeping around a second of a gap. As both of these drivers are now going to the pits, Drake is very close to George's. It's all about this little bit of a game into the pit stops where you have to press the button in proper time, in order to have a fast pit stop. Sami Nakle goes on for softs for whatever reason. George Snyder stays right ahead of Drake, who's also nearly spinning round after this corner. Evan Curtin probably be side by side with his teammate. He's going to be just behind him. But I wonder what will be the gap after the pit stops. It's going to be 1.4, 1.3, 1.2, 1.1. Is it enough for the RS? No, it is not. Even though he's now less than a second behind Tony. But he might use these warm tires now. As Drake Dempsey looks like he's very close with Georges. They made contact. I don't think there were major consequences of it. Maybe 2% of wing damage. But Georges Snyder and Drake Dempsey are all going for it in this outlap from the pit stops. How about Curtin and Richie? Because to be honest, I completely don't know who to follow. Or either it's the two esports drivers or the two championship contenders as of now. As Richie, well, it's very cloudy, so if Sami Nakle uses these soft tires completely to his advantage and makes the most of it, then the rain comes in, then he goes on Inters with a bit of a less gap than 6 seconds. He might even go for the second now, to be honest. Hayden is now peacefully on the 15th, just by the way. I'm watching the fight between Mills and Toginski. They are also kind of close to Jonathan Foss. Marvin will on these old mediums. Did he just predict the rain? I don't know. Drake will be definitely going for it. These two drivers still have little to no ERS. It's like 10% to 15 for both of these. Drake's got purple sector. There's a spinner, and that is Joe Fegali. Even Curtin goes for a fastest sector, fastest lap. Meanwhile, Drake, look how close he is to George Snyder. Something might happen here. He's going for a move around the outside into Lecombe, and he's going to take the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix yet again, ahead of Georges. Now the other one. It's the Red Bulls who are going for the championship fight, and also for the 4th place in this race. This might be vital. This might be crucial. Curtin goes for 4th. Richie will still stay on the 5th. This reduces the gap by 2 points, which might be very important in the future races. Fegali goes to the pits, probably to change to mediums, as he's done the move Erwin Curtin, and now he's pushing fully. Sami Nakle also is reducing the gap. Also very interesting horizon, but we unfortunately are not sponsored by AMD. Tomar gets another 3-second time penalty, I believe. That's another one, but we'll not check that for no spoilers. Now, in the best interest of Drake is to get ahead by 3 seconds. Oginski gets a 3-second time penalty. Robertson also gets a 3-second time penalty. Many penalties at the back of the field. In the front, it's like 2 of them. As we've got Fegali retiring on track, calling out a full safety car in this race for the first time. Is anyone going to use it to go to the pits for softs? Sami Nakle had to, as he was on the soft tires already, which might have not survived. Curtin goes for softs as well. We got the first safety car of this afternoon in Spa-Francorchamps. And Sami's going for whatever reason on mediums. I believe Curtin, yeah, he's going for softs. So how about the rest of the field? How they will behave? Because you might now survive on these softs. Curtin is going to come out on track around 10th place, or maybe even behind Oginski. We'll see about that. He's ahead of Jonathan Foss and comes back on track on P9. This will be now very close. Safety car around here. The Aston Martin. We remember what happened in one of other leagues for Drake Dempsey. Was peacefully in that safety car, but the safety car was teleporting and actually threw him into the air, so I hope this will not happen today. As if it will happen, we'll call out a red flag instantly. We cannot let Bernd Mailander to crush other people. Tony Richie on the 3rd, then we've got Sami Nakle and a big colorful snake behind him. Starting from 4th, going all the way to like 12th. Then we've got Marvin Moore. As all of the drivers seems like peacefully going through the safety car. It's just that little period before the action. It's the calm before the storm. For Ero Pc F1, I can assure that there'll be loads of action going on now. As Drake Dempsey, he's going to be under pressure from George Snyder, who's going to pick up soft tires. Tony Richard stays out. Sami Nakle, I don't know what he was doing, considering the pit stop for the medium tires from soft. You could have just gone for other softs, considering that you've been on hard when we started the race. George Snyder will come out on the 3rd place, so now he not only has Tony, not only has Drake to attack, but also Tony. Okay. Tony's disconnected. He's very lucky to do so during the safety car. As between the safety car and the action, I'm just reminding you, or actually recommending you, to like the stream and subscribe to the channel, as George Snyder tries to overtake the ghost of Tony. For whatever reason. I'll just see if I can invite him. Georges, you cannot overtake Tony, even though he's a ghost. Because otherwise you'll just be forced to give the position back. So just don't. Just don't. If you hear me. Otherwise you're having a 5... Yeah, this is a 5-second time penalty for George Snyder being applied already. He's caused the chaos. What's going on here? And Spa-Francorchamps. He's been trying to give the place back to Tony. Now everyone has to give the place back to Tony. Actually, his ghost. I'll see if I can invite him though. So there will be maintenance screen for just a little bit of a moment. But he's like gone at the moment. As Tony will lose these 3 places, but I believe it will be a time penalty for Georges, Sami and Tom. Overtaking under safety car is not allowed under any circumstances. Now Arjan Bilbas is out of the session, so more and more disconnections. If they will keep repeating themselves, we will call out a red flag in this race. We're having one more lap under the safety car. Tony reaches back into the session. Voss gets a penalty for colliding with Ginski. Now Arjan Bilbas, his AI goes to the pit, so that's fair enough. But I need to invite him as well. Yeah, he's joined back anyway, so I'm not waiting for that moment. And he's gone for hot tires! We cannot red flag due to AI going to the pits. Now Tony Richard tried to get the places back from... Oginski retires to the pits. But we cannot give the place back due to AI going to the pits. Tony Richard will now try to retake the positions, which is perfectly legal unless the game says otherwise. But if it costs the case again... Come on, don't care. Don't care. Why are you doing this? Why are we having Abu Dhabi in 2021? There's more and more chaos going on here, and I wonder if there will be a red flag for a 5-lapper. We haven't got a we haven't got a red flag this late. We've got long sprints. Crocs has now overtaken Maurer. There will be loads of penalties or a red flag. I'm just wondering what would be better for us. As well, this will be kind of a big reporting feast and loads of work for Rabbi Melko to sort out all of these 5-second time penalties, because the one definitely goes for Georges, Sami, Tom, Wojciech, And I believe Tony Ritchie has made it completely legally. And the reason for that is he was just trying to take his places back. The reason for that was he was second when he disconnected. And that would be perfectly fine. Wondering when people will understand no overtaking during the safety car. Perhaps never. Safety car is in this lap though, so Bernd Melander will give us 5 laps of racing. George Snyder tries to be alongside Drake, which is forbidden starting from 2022 Australian Grand Prix in real Formula 1. Well, that was one of the most that was one of the favorite tricks for Max Verstappen in real Formula 1 Grand Prix. But for now, it's forbidden. You're not allowed to do that, so George has to watch out for it. He's got Drake right behind him. He also has to go away by 2 seconds from the Alfa Romeo driver in order to make sure he wins this race, and also have to hope. Well, he's got it if he goes away by 2 seconds because of the gap that he will also create between him, Sami, Tony or Wojciech. We'll see if he can make the move anytime soon. We're restarting the Belgian Grand Prix. The only safety car of the race is now into the pit lane. Georges will try to make a move on Drake into turn 1 possibly, or as soon as possible to get out of his DRS, of DRS. As you can see, he's nearly touching Drake into turn 1. There's yellow flags in sector 3. Arjan Bilbas is in the pits, full soft tires. George Snyder is right by Drake, right behind him. He's going to make a move as soon as possible. It's a 1/10 of a gap. He'll go side by side with him into turns, into Lecombe, but it looks like Drake will defend his place. No, Georges will try to go down the inside of Drake. Drake stays on the first place though. It's still very close between these two drivers. There's a lot of tensions going on here between the Mercedes and the Alfa Romeo. George Snyder will go down the inside of Drake into the Brussels. Drake spins round. Drake spins round, and that is a free lead of the race for the Georges, ahead of Sami, ahead of Wojciech Krux, who's surprisingly going for a podium now. But I don't think it's going to last for long, as Evan Curtin is now going through right behind Tom Maurer, the other Mercedes. It's another virtual safety car this time. I believe that's Drake Dempsey dropped to 11. I wonder how many positions he will try to retake, because that's a disaster for him. Tony Ritchie, he spun around as well. What's going on the final laps? Tony goes back on track, very slowly though. There's more and more trouble for the drivers. Evan Curtin, this was a blessing for him, the spin of Tony, as he can now regain plenty of points in the championship. Tony Ritchie has got no front wing at all, and that means he's going to go to the pits and actually not score points. And that might be, and that definitely is, his first race without a podium. He's been on podium for 9 consecutive races. There'll be no number 10. As the record of consecutive podiums is Maxime Rodriguez's record. In season 4, he's got 11 podiums in a row. Starting from the 3rd place in Japan, then 9 victories, which is also the most victories in a row, and then a podium in Monza, the 3rd place. George Snyder knows he's got a bit of a delta. He's slowing down though, so he might be on the edge during this VSC. Tony Ritchie probably will try to get the fastest lap at least, as Bilbas gets a drive-through penalty for spinning on the VSC. We're racing again for the final 3.5 laps of this race. George Snyder looks like he's going to win on his debut again. We're having this after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Ero Pc F1. Arjan Bilbas is out of the race after this drive-through on the Rouge. The gap between Georges and Sami is still less than a second though. We'll see if Evan Curtin can go to the 3rd place. The gap is going to be reduced by 14 points if this happens, or even 16. 14 because of the fastest lap Tony might get. But every point counts, so he must go for it. The gap between Evan and Tony now in the championship, they're winning the constructors most likely anyway, is 26 points. So it's like cutting the half of the gap. Marvin Moore also we need to note, he's up into 5th place. But Erwin is now going for a move on the outside of the bus stop chicane, and he's going to be ahead of Wojciech Kroks. Will he go also for the second place in the end of this Grand Prix? We'll see that one, about that one in the last 3 laps. He's losing around 3 seconds, and this might be possible. And this might be possible for Evan Kurten, who's around 3 seconds behind now. Wojciech Kroks is going to have DRS on him, but he's got the penalty, so we'll see if he will risk it anyway. Tom Maurer also going for the fastest lap, so there might have been an incident between him and Tony. So it's again Tom versus Red Bulls. More and more bad luck for the young Mercedes driver. Looks like Evan will just fully go for it. It all depends on the final 3 laps and 2 sectors. Robertson fights Harvey for that 1 point, and Robertson is ahead. But remember that Owen Heinen has no penalties, so he's actually fighting for the single point. Drake Dempsey, I think he's about to make a move on Luke Mills. We know about his pace. He's overtaken Luke Mills on the Saudi Arabia very easily though, just for, as a reference. He might also make a move on Jonathan Foss. And I wonder how he did have a spin. If it was all by himself, or there was a little bit of a help from Georges in that one. As Erwin has already lost half a second to Sami somehow. And that allows Wojciech Kroks to have DRS on the next lap. There's a big train between 3rd and 9th. And I think Drake Dempsey is going to break that one. Luke Mills is going to let him pass though, knowing he's got no chance of fighting later on, and also considering he's got no penalty. This might be also valuable for him, as long as he has DRS. Owen Heinen goes for a move on Alfie. And he's kept that 11th place. Now I wonder if he's going to be within the DRS. Now, also wondering about Drake making a move on Jonathan. As Tom Maurer gets a 5-second time penalty for spinning in the pit lane, and as I thought, he's retired from the Grand Prix. No more racing for Tom Maurer, unfortunately. Another unfortunate race for also him, and Tony is also retiring on the final lap of this race. On the second final lap, sorry. He will not call out the safety car though. Disaster for Tommy Richard, first DNF of the season. Tom Maurer, another DNF, I believe. And same applies to Ryan Bilbas, and first one for Cameron. We'll see in Canada, which is another very challenging circuit. Even I believe it's even more challenging than the Belgian Spa-Francorchamps, as we've got more places to cut the corners. We've got the champions of world, as Robert Kubica said, back in 2019, as far as I'm aware. Drake Dempsey, will he go for a move on Jonathan Foss on these final laps of the race? Jonathan probably has the same amount of penalties as Drake. Drake is way faster. Going through the Blanchimon, Jonathan's forced Drake to brake a little bit. Drake will go for a move around the outside, down the inside. That has been a spectacular dive. Perfectly executed from Drake. Now he's another target, his cool Pavlakovic. Regaining as many places as possible. He's now in the 7th. Jonathan is very close to Drake Dempsey, but I don't think he'll think of a move at any point. It's the last lap of the Grand Prix. I think George Snyder is going to win. You can see the gap of 1.1 seconds, 1.2 seconds between him and Nakle, who's also having the best performance of the Alpine and the first podium for Alpine this season. And for Mercedes, it's the first race win. How about Wojciech Kroks though? He's also got a decent performance, but there will be plenty of reports considering the pit lane, the overtaking under SC, as we've got Drake being very close to Quill. We'll see if he can complete that move before the end of the race. Owen Heinen is making a move on Fraser Robertson for position number 10. Completing double points for Patari. Sami Nakles gone! Sami Nakles crashed out on the final lap of this race. He's out of the Grand Prix. That could have been the first podium for the Alpine, but it's not. Even though Marvin Moore can go for it. But it's a pure disaster for the French team with two Lebanese drivers. I mean, this was something we never expected to happen, as Evan Kurten is likely to get second place now, not just third. How did this happen for Sami? I'm completely not sure. As George Snyder, even with a 5-second time penalty and a penalty point for overtaking Tony Richards Ghost on the safety car, I think he's about to win the Belgian Grand Prix. It's just a corner to go. He slides like Max Verstappen. He slides more and more, and he takes the win with a little bit of a celebration. It's just about the damage. He's going, oh, that was very close as Drake Dempsey crashes into him, but that's after the line, so doesn't really matter. Great celebrations from Georges though, who wins and his debut. Even though it was a bit lucky, to be honest. With the safety car, with Sami Nakle crashing out. Well, that was a piece of a race. Here in Spa-Francorchamps. George Snyder, I know he is a Haas development driver. He had to race in Mercedes as both full-time seats in Haas were closed. But it's still a win for Georges and his debut. And even the 5-second penalty will not stop him. I just like it to be given though. Thankfully no red flag. As we've got George Snyder winning ahead of Curtin, Marvin Moore. So we've got 2 new drivers on the podium this in this race. The gap between Tony and Erwin is reduced to listen to me, because we've got 26 now. Erwin is second. No penalty will change that for Georges. DNF for Tony, no, he's classified, so 0 points. Is 8 points. It's 8 points now, so this is what Evan needed. Even with his spin out of the pit lane. 2 guys doubts, Fegali, Ogiński, Bilbas, and Maurer Richenakle did not cross the line. But between the first and the second, the 11th was 22 seconds. So now a press conference a little bit before the PS F1 action, which I invite you to watch, will be commentated by Cameron Dunn, not Doubts. Don't miss out that detail. But we'll go for a little conference. The sliding over the line made the gap 3. Actually, George, you messed up. Quite massively. As well, it all depends if Georges is reported. Now I'm going into the F1 conference room. As you can see, we're having Discord notifications on. So I'm going to invite the drivers who were on the podium. So Georges, Erwin, and Marvin. F1 conference VC. Go to talking, and I'll move you. Simple as that. There's also quite a lot of drivers in our Discord server on the talking voice chat, so just make sure to join it through this. The link is in the description. As Erwin is already right here. And we've got the 2nd place finisher of this race. Quite unexpected, to be honest, right?
Yes, a bit unexpected, but it was very. I'm very happy of the result today.
Well, considering this many incidents, Tony spinning around, or actually Georges and his restart, drama restart, it all depends if he's reported for overtaking under the safety car.
Yeah. Tony, his game crashed.
Yep, so that was a classic ego dumper, I believe.
Yes.
Hello, guys.
Hello. First podium of the season.
Yeah.
And first one since season 6, I believe.
No, I think if I remember, I made a podium in season 7. Then I left because I had the exams and so on.
Yep. Just making sure in the standings. Yeah, you indeed had a race win, for example, in Mexico in that race
Yeah,
in
in
season
season
6.
6 I made two back-to-back wins, I guess.
I'm going to tell you now. Third in Emilia-Romagna, second in Belgium, first in Mexico, second in Australia. So that's quite lucky from you. That's quite a lucky
Yeah.
place from you to take the win. To take the podium, sorry.
Mm,
As for the second time you're doing it in the Belgian Grand Prix.
yeah. Second time, yeah, in the last season or season 6 I finished P2 as well. So I know I was lucky, but pace wasn't that bad.
Yep. Lovely performance, even though your early pit for medium tires. Was it plant or was it wing damage?
No wing damage because I touched Jonathan when FedEx bumped me from the back. I touched Jonathan, then I got that wing damage.
Yep. So from Erwin, well, the spin.
Yeah, the exit of the pit. I have been surprised by the car. Just it was I had a moment here.
Yep. But still you made it into the podium and the gap between you and Tony is now 8 points.
Yeah, I was thinking of that in the last lap. But I'm not really happy for the team.
Yep. And now we're having a driver who's just stepped in and instantly won. But there might be some controversies around this victory, especially considering the safety car restart. Now the question is, did Drake spin by himself or what happened? We're talking to Georges now.
Yeah, hello. First of all, GG to the podium sitters.
Yeah,
No, he
GG.
didn't by himself,
Thank you.
but he didn't leave me enough space. Basically, we finished the Lecombe sequence, and then we were going on the right hairpin after the Lecombe, and he just basically cut across with some lag that he had as well. And he didn't leave me enough room, although I was I had my nose up his side pod, and then obviously we made contact and he spun. But yeah, nothing on my end, to be fair.
Yep. Also about the slide and overtaking on the safety car, what do you think?
Overtaking who?
Tony Ritchie's Ghost.
Oh, because yeah, I was gonna overtake him anyway because the game has a glitch where at some point during the formation lap it decides to just let the ghost go on the side and let obviously the pack through. So basically, yeah, I don't think that should be a pen because he's a ghost at the end of the day. Would have got him in anyway.
Yep. Anyway, yeah. Also, that final
Yeah.
lap celebration, I believe you were
Yeah.
inspired by Max Verstappen in Abu Dhabi a little bit.
Yeah, true. That's what I tried. A bit of a fail, but at least the first part worked.
Yeah, it worked. You still crossed the line.
Yeah, I thought I got the DNF at first because I saw my rear tire was damaged.
Quite huge.
Yeah,
You still crossed the line, so it would count anyways.
yeah, exactly. Thank God. That would have been embarrassing.
Yep. So I believe that's it for today's race. Thanks for the race. Thanks for the conference. Just a reminder for you all watching the stream. I see 18 likes, but you can go for more. As well, it's a potential in this league though, considering today's grid especially. Anyway, I was Wojciech Śmigowski, and I still am Wojciech Śmigowski, but I was commentating this race. And just for information, like, subscribe. And on Tuesday, remember, on Tuesday we are starting Season 9 signups. 8 tiers, all in crossplay. There might be loads of action going on. There might be even a 20-way championship fight I wish to happen. But for now, it will be a PS F1 race in 40 minutes, commentated by Cameron Dunn. As, yeah, the fight between King, Darunia, and Lependru continues, and we'll see who's going to come out on top. We'll see about that in 40 minutes. Now it's time to say goodbye and to see each other in the Canadian Grand Prix next week at the same time, 4 p.m. UK. There we go. Goodbye.